Canada is home to stunning landscapes, rich history, and some of the most chilling hauntings in the world. From eerie hotels to ghostly battlefields, these places are shrouded in mystery, tragedy, and paranormal encounters. Disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and restless spirits have been witnessed by visitors and ghost hunters alike. Join us as we count down the top 10 most haunted places in Canada, where the past refuses to rest. 10. Peggy's Point Lighthouse, Nova Scotia. Perched on the rugged shores of Nova Scotia, Canada, Peggy's Point Lighthouse is one of the most iconic and photographed lighthouses in the world. But beneath its breathtaking beauty lies a tragic and chilling legend, one that has made this lighthouse one of Canada's most haunted locations. Locals speak of a spectral woman in a flowing blue dress, wandering the rocky cliffs, forever searching for something, or someone, she lost. Her sorrowful presence lingers, her story whispered in the crashing waves, in the mist that rolls over the rocks, and in the eerie silence of the lighthouse itself. The origins of Peggy's Point Lighthouse date back to 1868, when the first wooden lighthouse was built to guide ships safely through the treacherous waters of St. Margaret's Bay. This coastline was notorious for violent storms and shipwrecks, with many sailors meeting a watery grave beneath the waves. The village of Peggy's Cove, where the lighthouse stands, was named after a young girl, the sole survivor of a terrible shipwreck. Some say her name was Margaret, shortened to Peggy, and she was taken in by local fishermen after the disaster. Others believe she was a spirit who appeared mysteriously from the sea. Regardless of the truth, Peggy's legend was born, and with it, the stories of ghostly apparitions, eerie lights, and a presence that lingers among the rocks. One of the most famous ghostly figures associated with Peggy's Point Lighthouse is the Blue Lady, a woman in a long blue dress, seen drifting across the cliffs. The most well-known legend tells of a woman who lost her husband to the sea. Some say he was a fisherman who never returned from his voyage, while others claim he fell to his death on the rocky shore. Heartbroken, she wandered the cliffs in grief, wearing the blue dress he had gifted her. One stormy night, she stepped off the edge of the cliff, vanishing into the dark waters below. Since then, her restless spirit has been seen walking the shoreline, gazing out at the ocean, as if waiting for her lost love to return. Chilling encounters and paranormal activity. The mysterious blue glow. On foggy nights, an unexplained blue light is often seen hovering near the lighthouse. Some believe this is the spirit of the Blue Lady, her ghostly presence illuminating the darkness. The sounds of weeping in the wind. Many visitors have reported hearing soft crying when standing near the lighthouse at dusk. The wind carries what sounds like a woman's sorrowful whispers, though no one is there. The vanishing woman. Several witnesses claim to have seen a woman in a blue dress standing at the edge of the cliff. As they approach, she disappears into thin air, leaving only the sound of the waves crashing below. Cold spots and unseen hands. Some who walk near the lighthouse report sudden drops in temperature, even on warm days. Others have felt a cold hand brush against them, as if the ghost is reaching out. Despite its eerie legends, Peggy's Point Lighthouse remains an active beacon, guiding ships through dangerous waters. But those who visit at night, when the fog rolls in and the wind whispers through the rocks, often feel that they are not alone. 9. St. Andrews-on-the-Red, Manitoba. In the quiet countryside of Manitoba, Canada, an ancient church stands as a silent witness to centuries of history, mystery, and chilling encounters. This is St. Andrews-on-the-Red, Manitoba's oldest stone church, built in 1849, a place of faith, but also a place where the past refuses to rest. For generations, strange lights have flickered in the graveyard, phantom footsteps echo through the church, and visitors have reported encounters with spirits that refuse to leave. St. Andrews-on-the-Red was built by Scottish settlers and Indigenous laborers along the banks of the Red River. It was meant to be a place of worship, a sanctuary, and a final resting place for many. But the land it was built on was already steeped in history, a place once inhabited by indigenous tribes and early fur traders, many of whom met tragic ends due to disease, war, or harsh winters. The churchyard became home to generations of souls, their graves marked by weathered tombstones, some of which have long since crumbled away. But while their bodies may have been laid to rest, their spirits never truly left. Over the years, paranormal activity at St. Andrews-on-the-Red became impossible to ignore. Visitors and locals alike began reporting eerie encounters, most notably in the cemetery that surrounds the church. The shadowy figure among the graves. Many late-night visitors have seen a dark figure moving between the tombstones. Some describe it as a hooded apparition, others claim to see a tall man in old-fashioned clothing. When approached, he vanishes into thin air. The mysterious floating lights. Glowing orbs of light have been seen drifting over the graves. Some believe these are spirits trying to communicate, while others think they are restless souls trapped between worlds. Photographs taken in the graveyard often reveal strange anomalies, floating lights, eerie mist, and shadowy figures. The phantom footsteps and unseen presence. Many who visit the church alone report the unmistakable sound of footsteps following them. Some have felt a cold hand brush against their skin, only to turn and find no one there. Even during the day, the eerie feeling of being watched is impossible to ignore. One of the most well-known spirits of St. Andrews-on-the-Red is a ghostly woman in a long, flowing dress. Locals believe she was a grieving mother who lost her child and never recovered. Her wailing cries can sometimes be heard on quiet, windless nights. Some visitors claim to have seen her kneeling by a particular grave, weeping, before vanishing into the darkness. Could this be the spirit of a mother searching for her lost child, or something even more unsettling? The hauntings are not just limited to the graveyard. The church itself holds secrets of its own. The organ that plays by itself. The church's old pipe organ has been heard playing, even when no one is inside. A former caretaker once locked up for the night, only to hear soft organ music drifting from inside. When he checked, the church was empty. Doors that open and close on their own. Churchgoers have reported heavy wooden doors swinging open or slamming shut, even when there is no wind or draft. One visitor recalled seeing a door creak open, as if someone unseen had just entered the church. The voices of the past. Several people have reported hearing muffled voices and whispers, as if a congregation from the past was still gathered inside. One chilling account describes a man who heard his own name being whispered in the empty church, but he was completely alone. Despite these terrifying encounters, St. Andrews-on-the-Red remains a functioning church, continuing to serve its community. But for those who have experienced the unexplainable, there is no doubt, the past is still very much alive here. 8. Ottawa Jail Hostel, Ottawa, Ontario. In the heart of Ottawa, Ontario, there stands a building with a dark and chilling past, a place where the guilty, the innocent, and the forgotten once languished in cold, cramped cells. Today, it is known as the Ottawa Jail Hostel, but before that, it was the Carleton County Jail, a prison notorious for its harsh conditions, executions, and lingering spirits. For those who dare to spend the night, whispers echo through the halls, shadows creep along the walls, and some say the ghost of a wrongly accused man still walks the corridors, searching for justice. Built in 1862, the Carleton County Jail was one of Canada's most notorious prisons, housing criminals, political prisoners, and even those who were simply too poor to pay their debts. But this was no ordinary jail, it was a place of suffering. Prisoners were crammed into tiny, filthy cells, barely large enough to move. Executions were carried out on the upper floors, with men led to the gallows never to return. Public hangings drew large crowds outside the prison walls, eager to watch justice, or injustice, unfold. But one execution stands out among the rest, the hanging of Patrick J. Whelan, a man whose spirit may never have left the jail. Patrick J. Whelan was convicted of assassinating Thomas D'Arcy McGee, a prominent politician. But many believed his trial was unjust, and that he was hanged for a crime he did not commit. On February 11, 1869, Whelan was led to the jail's gallows. It is said he proclaimed his innocence to the very end. When the trapdoor was released, something went terribly wrong. Instead of a quick death, Wayland's body convulsed for minutes, a gruesome and painful execution. Ever since that day, his ghost has been seen wandering the jail, trapped between our world and the next. Encounters and paranormal activity. The shadow in the hallways. Guests who stay in the old cells have reported waking up to find a dark figure standing at the foot of their beds. Some say they hear whispers, others feel an unseen hand touch their shoulder. Could it be Wayland, still searching for justice? The sound of footsteps and chains. Late at night, visitors have heard heavy boots stomping down the hall, followed by the eerie sound of chains dragging across the stone floor. Yet when they open their doors to check, there's no one there. Cold spots and unseen presences. Many guests report sudden cold spots, even in the height of summer. Some say they feel a phantom presence standing behind them, as if someone is watching, waiting. The death row cells. Those brave enough to enter death row, where prisoners spent their final nights, often leave shaken. Some report feeling dizzy and short of breath, while others say they hear faint cries coming from the empty cells. The gallows room. One of the most terrifying spots is the room where Wayland was executed. Staff and visitors alike have seen shadows flickering in the corners, and some even claim to hear the rope creaking, as if his hanging is repeating over and over again. Though the Carleton County Jail closed in 1972, it was transformed into the Ottawa Jail Hostel, offering guests a chance to sleep in the very cells where prisoners once suffered. But the past has not been forgotten, and many believe the spirits of the condemned still linger. 7. Old Spaghetti Factory, Vancouver, British Columbia. Tucked away in the heart of Vancouver's historic gastown, the Old Spaghetti Factory is a restaurant known for its cozy atmosphere, delicious Italian food, and something else. For decades, guests and staff alike have witnessed eerie apparitions, strange noises, and chilling encounters. And at the center of it all, a ghostly train conductor, a haunted trolley car, and spirits that refuse to leave their final stop. Gastown is one of Vancouver's oldest neighborhoods, dating back to the 1800s. It was once a bustling hub for sailors, railroad workers, and pioneers, many of whom met tragic ends in the dark alleyways and dimly lit saloons. When the Old Spaghetti Factory opened in 1970, it was built on land that had been a central railway hub. The restaurant even incorporated a real antique trolley car inside its dining area, a relic from the early 1900s. Little did they know, they brought more than just history into their restaurant. The most famous spirit of the Old Spaghetti Factory is a ghostly train conductor, often seen inside the antique trolley car. Staff have spotted a tall, shadowy figure in a uniform, standing motionless in the trolley before vanishing into thin air. Guests have felt an unexplained presence when dining inside the car, as if someone is watching them from the empty seats. One night, a manager closed up the restaurant and took a final photo of the empty dining area, only to discover the faint outline of a man standing inside the trolley car, dressed in an old-fashioned conductor's uniform. Could this be the spirit of a railway worker who died in a tragic accident, forever bound to his final journey? Other haunted encounters at the Old Spaghetti Factory. The little red-haired boy. A ghostly young boy with bright red hair is often seen running through the restaurant. Guests have felt a sudden chill before seeing him dart between tables. He is known for playing pranks on diners, moving cutlery, and pulling chairs away just as someone is about to sit down. Some believe he may have been a child who once lived near the railway and met a tragic fate. The phantom shadows and flickering lights. Throughout the restaurant, lights flicker without reason. Staff have reported cold spots that appear suddenly, even when the heating is on. A shadowy figure has been seen near the kitchen doors, only to disappear when approached. The disembodied whispering. One of the most unsettling experiences is the soft murmuring heard late at night. Staff closing the restaurant have heard whispers from empty corners, as if ghostly diners are still enjoying their meals long after closing. Some have even felt a breath on their neck, turning around to find no one there. The old spaghetti factory continues to thrive, attracting both food lovers and ghost hunters alike. While some come for the famous pasta and warm ambience, others hope to catch a glimpse of the otherworldly guests who never left. 6. Fort Garry Hotel, Winnipeg, Manitoba. In the heart of Winnipeg, Manitoba, a towering landmark looms over Broadway Avenue, the Fort Garry Hotel. Built in 1913, this luxurious hotel has welcomed royalty, celebrities, and dignitaries, offering lavish accommodations and elegant ballrooms. But beneath its grandeur, whispers of tragedy, sorrow, and lingering spirits have given Fort Garry a reputation as one of Canada's most haunted hotels. The Grand Trunk Pacific Railway built Fort Garry Hotel as a symbol of prosperity, a luxurious destination for travelers arriving by train. Designed in the chateau style, with its turrets and stone archways, it quickly became one of Winnipeg's most prestigious hotels. But as the years passed, Fort Garry became more than just a place of luxury. It became a place of tragedy, and perhaps, something more. The most infamous story of Fort Garry Hotel is tied to room 202, where it is said a heartbroken woman took her own life. The story goes: a young bride checked into room 202, waiting for her husband to arrive. But then came the devastating news: he had died in a tragic accident. Overcome with grief, she hanged herself in the room, her sorrow forever trapped within its walls. Since then, guests who stay in room 202 report terrifying experiences. They wake up feeling a phantom presence beside them in bed. The mattress depresses, as if someone invisible is lying there. A woman in a flowing white gown is seen standing at the foot of the bed before vanishing into thin air. Even hotel staff refuse to enter room 202 alone. Other haunted encounters at Fort Garry Hotel. The bloodied ghost at the end of the bed. One guest, who had no knowledge of the hauntings, awoke in the middle of the night to see a woman in white standing at the end of her bed, crying, blood dripping from her wrists. When she blinked, the figure was gone. The elevator that stops at room 202. By itself. Many visitors have reported elevators stopping on the second floor with no buttons pressed. The doors slide open, but no one is there. Some believe it's the ghost of the grieving bride, still wandering the hallways. Shadow figures and flickering lights. Guests have seen dark, shadowy figures gliding through the hallways, often near the hotel's grand staircase. Lights flicker at random, and chandeliers sway on their own, as if unseen forces are passing through. Cold spots and disembodied voices. Throughout the hotel, guests and staff report sudden chilling cold spots, even in the heat of summer. Whispers echo through empty hallways, and some guests even claim they've heard soft sobbing behind closed doors, only to find the room empty. Despite its ghostly reputation, the Fort Garry Hotel remains one of Winnipeg's most iconic landmarks, drawing visitors from around the world. Some come for the luxury, others for the paranormal encounters. But whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: the spirits of Fort Garry Hotel have never checked out. 5. Gibraltar Point Lighthouse, Toronto, Ontario. Just off the shores of Toronto, Ontario, on the misty sands of Toronto Islands, stands an ancient, weathered tower, the Gibraltar Point Lighthouse. It is the oldest lighthouse on the Great Lakes, built in 1808 to guide sailors safely to shore. But while its beacon once brought men home from treacherous waters, something dark and sinister still lingers in its shadow. A murder, an unsolved mystery, and a ghost that refuses to rest. This is the chilling tale of Toronto's most haunted lighthouse. The Gibraltar Point Lighthouse was built to protect ships from crashing into the island's dangerous sandbanks. It stood as a symbol of hope, its towering presence visible through the harshest storms. For years, it was home to its first keeper, John Paul Radelmuller, a German immigrant known for his kindness and dedication. He lived alone in the lighthouse, ensuring that its light never went out. But in 1815, his story took a grisly turn. On a bitterly cold night in January 1815, legend says that two soldiers from nearby Fort York arrived at the lighthouse. They had been drinking and demanded bootlegged beer, believing Radlmuller had a secret stash. When he refused, things turned violent. In a fit of drunken rage, the soldiers attacked the lighthouse keeper, beating him to death. But their crime did not end there. Terrified of being caught, they dismembered his body and buried the pieces somewhere near the lighthouse. But his spirit never left. Not long after Radlmuller's gruesome murder, strange things started happening at Gibraltar Point. Mysterious lights flickered inside the tower, even when it was abandoned. Unexplained footsteps echoed up the spiral staircase when no one was inside. Visitors and lighthouse keepers reported hearing whispers in German, as if the ghost of Radlmuller was still pleading for justice. And then, something even more disturbing happened. In the 1890s, a new keeper made a chilling discovery: a collection of human bones buried near the lighthouse. Were these the remains of Radlmuller? The mystery remains unsolved, but many believe his spirit is still searching for the rest of his body, and for revenge. Haunted encounters at Gibraltar Point. The shadow on the tower. Many have reported seeing a dark figure standing at the top of the lighthouse, only for it to vanish into thin air. Could it be Radlmuller, forever keeping watch? The whispering wind. Visitors have heard soft, unintelligible whispers as they approach the lighthouse. Some say they can make out a faint German accent, murmuring from the shadows. The cold presence. On warm summer nights, tourists have felt an unexplained icy chill as they near the old tower. Some even claim they felt an invisible hand brush against their shoulder. The blood-stained steps. Legend has it that on certain moonlit nights, the ghost of Radlmuller recreates his final moments, his phantom footsteps trudging up the worn stone stairs, only to disappear at the top. Today, the Gibraltar Point Lighthouse still stands, abandoned but not forgotten. Visitors to Toronto Islands often stop to admire its historic beauty, unaware that a restless spirit lingers inside. 4. Craigdarroch Castle, Victoria, British Columbia. Craigdarroch Castle was built in 1887 by Robert Dunsmuir, a Scottish coal baron who became one of Canada's richest men. His vision was to create a lavish, 39-room mansion as a symbol of his power and success, a home fit for his family's dynasty. But fate had other plans. Before he could ever set foot in his grand creation, Robert Dunsmuir suddenly died in 1889, leaving his widow, Joan, and their children to complete the castle. Instead of becoming a home of prosperity, it became a place of heartbreak and family feuds. After Joan's death, the castle was divided among squabbling heirs. Over the years, it served as a military hospital, a conservatory of music, and even a college. But with so much history within its walls, some say the spirits of the past never truly left. Not long after the castle changed hands, strange occurrences began to surface. Shadows flickered where no light should be, whispers echoed through empty hallways, and ghostly figures were seen drifting through the grand staircase. Many believe that the Dunsmuir family, ripped apart by greed, misfortune, and untimely deaths, still lingers in their once magnificent home. Haunted encounters at Craigdarroch Castle. The Lady in White. One of the most famous spirits is a woman in a flowing white gown, often seen wandering the grand staircase. Some believe she is Joan Dunsmuir, still watching over the home that consumed her life. Others say she is one of the many nurses who worked in the castle during its time as a military hospital, forever bound to its halls. The Phantom Piano. Even when no one is near the music room, visitors have reported hearing the soft, eerie sound of piano keys being played. Some believe this is the spirit of a former student from the conservatory, still practicing long after death. The shadowy figures. Guests and staff have witnessed dark silhouettes moving across rooms, only to vanish when approached. Could they be the ghosts of former soldiers, still lingering from the castle's time as a hospital? The cold touch. Many who explore the upper floors report a sudden chill in the air, followed by an unseen force brushing against them, as if something, or someone, is reaching out from beyond the veil. Disembodied whispers. Late at night, staff have reported hearing faint conversations, laughter, and even weeping. When they check the rooms, they find nothing but silence. Today, Craigdarroch Castle stands as a historical museum, drawing thousands of visitors each year. Some come for the architectural beauty, others for the chance to experience one of British Columbia's most haunted locations. But whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: the spirits of Craigdarroch Castle are not done telling their story. 3. Keg Mansion, Toronto, Ontario. The Keg Mansion was originally built in 1867 by Arthur McMaster, a wealthy industrialist. But its most famous residents arrived in 1882, when Hart Massey, a powerful businessman and founder of Massey Harris, now Massey Ferguson, purchased the grand estate. The Massey family was one of Canada's most influential, known for their wealth, philanthropy, and deep ties to the country's industrial growth. The mansion became a hub of high society gatherings, extravagant dinners, and political discussions. But beneath the glittering chandeliers and finely crafted walls, tragedy lurked in the shadows. In 1915, a heartbreaking event shook the Massey family. Lillian Massey, Hart Massey's beloved daughter, fell gravely ill and died within the mansion's walls. Her passing left the household in deep mourning, but for one servant, the grief was unbearable. The mansion's most infamous ghost story begins here. A devoted maid, heartbroken over Lillian's death, was unable to imagine life without her. Overcome with despair, she hanged herself in the grand foyer, her lifeless body swaying from the massive oak staircase. But her story did not end there. Not long after her tragic death, strange occurrences began to plague the mansion. Staff and guests reported seeing the ghostly figure of a woman hanging from the staircase, her body gently swinging in the air before vanishing into thin mist. Some say they can hear the creaking of the rope, as if the moment of her death is replaying endlessly in the mansion's eerie silence. Haunted encounters in the Keg Mansion. The Weeping Maid. The most chilling apparition is that of the sorrowful maid, who is still seen dangling from the grand staircase. Some visitors have felt an intense wave of sadness as they approach, while others claim to see a shadowy figure vanish when they turn the corner. The Phantom Children. The sounds of giggling, running footsteps, and disembodied voices have been heard in empty hallways. Some believe these are the spirits of children who once lived or worked in the mansion. The Whispering Walls. Late at night, staff members have reported hearing soft whispers, as if unseen guests are still engaged in hushed conversations from another time. The Mysterious Footsteps. Many diners and employees have heard the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps above them, only to realize there is no one there. The Ghostly Presence in the Washrooms. One of the most unsettling experiences happens in the women's washroom, where visitors have reported feeling watched or even seeing shadowy figures appear in the mirror behind them. Despite its elegance and fine dining, the Keg Mansion remains one of Toronto's most haunted locations. Guests come for the food but often leave with stories of eerie encounters, chills down their spine, and the feeling that they were never truly alone. 2. Plains of Abraham, Quebec City. In the heart of Quebec City, a vast and peaceful green space stretches along the banks of the St. Lawrence River. But beneath its tranquil surface, the Plains of Abraham hold a dark and bloody history, one filled with war, death, and spirits that refuse to rest. The story begins in 1759, during the bloody conflicts of the 7 Years' War between Britain and France. The Plains of Abraham became the site of one of the most decisive and brutal battles in North American history, the Battle of Quebec. On September 13, 1759, British General James Wolfe led an army of 4,400 men up the cliffs to surprise the French forces commanded by General Louis-Joseph de Montcalm. The battle was short but devastating. Within 15 minutes, hundreds of soldiers lay dead or dying, their blood soaking into the ground. Both generals perished, sealing the fate of New France. The British victory marked the beginning of the end for French rule in Canada. But victory came at a terrible cost. The battlefield became a graveyard, and the souls of the fallen seemed to never leave. As the years passed, strange and eerie events began to plague the plains of Abraham. Locals and visitors reported seeing ghostly soldiers wandering the fields, their uniforms tattered, their faces locked in expressions of agony. Some say the spirits are forever locked in battle, still reliving their final moments of terror and bloodshed. Haunted encounters on the plains. The phantom soldiers. Many who walk the plains at night hear the distant echoes of musket fire and the clash of steel, as if the battle is still raging. Some have even seen shadowy figures in old military uniforms, standing eerily still before fading into the mist. The dying general. Legend has it that the spirit of General Wolfe, mortally wounded during the battle, still lingers on the battlefield. Witnesses claim to have seen a ghostly figure collapsing to the ground, clutching his chest, only to vanish seconds later. Could it be Wolfe, forever reliving his tragic fate? The wailing of the fallen. Many visitors have reported disembodied whispers and distant cries of agony as they walk the plains. Some have even felt an unseen presence brush past them, as if invisible soldiers are still moving in formation. The blood-stained earth. Some locals believe that the ground itself is cursed, rainwater never fully washes away the stains of war, and at times, a strange red mist rises from the earth, as if the battlefield is bleeding once more. Today, the Plains of Abraham are a beautiful park, a place of remembrance, festivals, and quiet reflection. But those who walk its paths after dark may find themselves not alone. The spirits of the fallen still wander, their echoes trapped in time, their battle never truly over. 1. Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, Alberta. Built in 1888 by the Canadian Pacific Railway, the hotel was designed to attract wealthy travelers to the untamed beauty of Banff National Park. With its grand castle-like architecture and stunning mountain views, the hotel quickly became a top destination for elites, adventurers, and even royalty. But beneath its opulent charm, a darker, more chilling history has unfolded over the decades. What was once a symbol of luxury soon became known for something more sinister: ghostly encounters, tragic deaths, and eerie, unexplained events. Guests and staff began reporting strange occurrences, and over the years, the hotel earned its reputation as one of Canada's most haunted locations. Perhaps the most famous spirit to wander the halls of the Fairmont Banff Springs is the Ghost Bride. Legend has it that in the early 1930s, a young woman prepared for the most magical day of her life. She descended the grand staircase in a beautiful white gown, but tragedy struck. Her dress brushed against a candle's flame, and in a panic, she tripped, tumbling to her death. Some say her broken body lay at the foot of the stairs, her veil still draped over her face. To this day, guests have seen a spectral bride dancing alone in the ballroom, her veil flowing even when there is no breeze. Others have caught glimpses of her ghostly figure standing on the grand staircase, her eyes filled with sorrow. Another well-known spirit is Sam Macaulay, a beloved bellhop who worked at the hotel in the 1960s. Even after his death, it seems that Sam never truly checked out. Guests have reported encounters with a mysterious bellhop in an old-fashioned uniform, who assists them with their luggage and then vanishes into thin air. Some staff members claim to have heard his footsteps echoing down empty hallways late at night. One of the most chilling mysteries of the Fairmont Banff Springs is the hidden room discovered during renovations. The story goes that an entire guest room had been sealed off due to a tragic event. Some say a murder, others whisper of a family that mysteriously vanished within its walls. Guests staying near the area report cold spots, flickering lights, and disembodied whispers. The hotel remains tight-lipped about the room's exact location, only fueling the legend further. Beyond these famous spirits, guests and staff have reported countless eerie experiences. Doors unlocking and slamming shut on their own. Phantom whispers in the hallways at night. Ghostly figures appearing in mirrors and disappearing when looked at directly. Sudden temperature drops in certain rooms. Despite its haunted reputation, the Fairmont Banff Springs remains one of Canada's most prestigious hotels, drawing visitors from all over the world. Some come for the luxury, others for the chance to witness the paranormal. But whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: the spirits of the Fairmont Banff Springs are not in any hurry to leave.